on a player, especially for a tournament of this size.
Yeah, very true. And that's just sort of the life of a pro player. You see all the time pro players will like tweet out like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted after playing video games in tournaments and making money in my dream job for the past 2 weeks." Come on, man.
Somebody get Kranich a cup of coffee.
Yeah, you have to sit in front of a computer and play Hearthstone. How hard could it be?
Yeah.
So, yeah, looks like we're jumping into game number one. Kranich is going to throw out the Warlock. It looks like that's the deck that we weren't able to see yesterday. It looks like some kind of combo Reno with Faceless Manipulator, and Xixo's going to throw out the Nazov Paladin.
Man, this matchup just feels so rough to me. Good for Kranich that he has the combo in his deck. I'm assuming there's a Leroy Jenkins who see Faceless and Power Overwhelming, but I think we talked about this for a minute yesterday. I've played this matchup from the Reno side, and it does not feel good.
Yep. The combo version has a little bit of a better shot at it, just because Paladins, even though they have a lot of healing, they're never going to go above 30. They're going to float between 25 and 30 for most of the match, but they're never going to go above 30. I was going to say a lot of times they don't go above 30. No, they never go above 30 unless some shenanigans happen. But the combo, the nowadays combo, unless you get pretty lucky with Dark Peddler or you have like an abusive Sergeant and you get a really good Emperor off, you're not going to be able to do that much damage. So if you can manage to put on some pressure early and draw into the combo relatively quickly, you can end the game. And we actually saw, I can't remember what player it was yesterday, but got really close. It was Stan Ducci, I think.
Yeah.
Even though he was getting owned by a Nazov Paladin, he got really close at the end because of the combo.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of the matchups where you're going to see, if Kranich has a lot of experience with it, you're going to see him possibly be super greedy with an Emperor. It's like you said, he probably needs to get really lucky off Dark Peddler, picking up another buff card, like another Power Overwhelming, another Abusive Sergeant, if possible. Power Overwhelming, obviously, like, way more likely. Maybe even Soulfire. Soulfire only worth 4. Power Overwhelming could be worth 8 with Faceless Manipulator. So you need to be able to do more than 20 points in one turn with a Leroy Jenkins and a Faceless Manipulator. So that's the problem. The thing is, though, the Paladin deck, it gives you a good bit of time most of the time. I mean, it's not like Xixo is going to come busting out of the gate and beat you down real fast. So look for Kranich to be looking for that kind of hand in this game and to get really, really greedy with an Emperor Thaurissan.
Yeah, and you can see Kranich is just trying to have stuff stick on the board. Trying to either force out removal or just getting some chip-in damage early on. Using the Defender Vargas to buff up a 2-1 in order to just trade into a hero power is... I don't want to call it greedy because it's not really greed. I think it's smart play. You just need to get stuff to stick on the board because you need to force a reaction out of the Paladin so they can't make any proactive threats. So you can keep tapping, keep building up your board little by little, and get in some damage that you can combo out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you need to find repetitive sources of damage. That's what you see here. He's taking Flame. It's the best minion that was available to him. He'd much rather another Power Overwhelming, but every little point is going to add up if you can keep them, or if you can keep Xixo around this light total right here. I think this is a pretty good spot for him. But I mean, he's behind it right now already. This Wild Pyromancer is going to represent a lot of problems with the Conflagration. It's going to be a full clear here. And he's even still got this True Silver Champion behind this. So finding repetitive sources of damage for Kranich is going to be difficult. Ooh, Acidic Swamp is not a bad top deck here, but that card might be one to be saved around for that Tyrion that's sitting in Xixo's hand.
Yep. And there's just so many really good silence targets in a Death Rattle deck. I mean, even sometimes you have to silence Cairn just to get rid of that body. Tyrion, of course, is the number one, but even if you silence something, it's gonna come back later in the game with Nazov.
Yeah, you have to do it
twice, rare that
right?
you close out the game. Yeah, it's rare that you can close out the game before they play Nazov, unless it's in the bottom 5 to 10 cards of their deck, and you drew really well early on. So you probably wish that if you knew you were playing Nazov Paladin, that you could somehow sneak extra silences into your deck, which is like almost impossible because with a Reno deck, you basically have Spellbreaker and Iron Beguile. That's about it.
Yeah, so like when I was playtesting this deck a little more, I tried a couple of versions without combo, and this matchup feels like literally unwinnable without the combo in your deck, because you actually I'm gonna use a quote you like to use. You run out of stuff. Like, you just don't actually have enough damage in your deck to kill them anymore.
Yep.
They have so much removal. They have double quality, double humility, these Kodos, and you can't actually deal enough damage because a lot of the time in this matchup you have to deal up to like 60 to 70 damage because they just heal so much. Yeah. And without that burst potential, you don't have that option to you. And yeah, I actually like just getting Reno into play here. Honestly, you need to extend this game as much as possible, and just getting a big body into play is something that Kranich needs to do.
Yeah, and the thing about Reno Lock is that it's very vulnerable because of the fact that it's inconsistent by nature because of the one-ofs, because of the Highlander sort of effect. And so you have to put in some of these anti-aggro tools that really are useless in control matchups. And so you have a lot of these sort of dead cards in the matchup. Paladin are sort of designed to sort of beat everything because their anti-aggro cards are also their anti-control cards. Outdoor Peacekeeper and Humility are much better tools than, like Hellfire and like Doomsayer and Earthen Ring Farseer, those types of cards, because not only do they deal with, smaller threats in aggro matchups and faster matchups, they also deal even better with bigger threats, which you can't say for the likes of some of the anti-aggro cards that Reno Warlocks have. So they're in a much better spot in control versus control most of the time. Like we said, combo does skew this matchup a little bit more towards the Reno Warlock, but it's still a tough one. It's still a tough one for them to just get anything to stick to the board.
Yeah, it feels like maybe the Reno deck needs to change by a few cards to be a little more competitive in this matchup. Does the Paladin deck just feel like the most refined deck to you so far?
In standard? So far,
it's got to be up there.
It's up there, yeah. I think there's still a lot of room for refinement. I'm trying to think of other decks that are good right now.
I think the Rogue decks are pretty good too, but I mean, it doesn't really count because it's not that different, Yeah,
and also if you look at Paladin decks across the tournament, they differ by like 1 card or 2 cards. Exactly, if you look at the Rogue decks in the tournament, they differ by like 5 cards. Because some players do double deadly poison, some players put the Journey from Below in there. Some players some players have Malagos with Shivs, some players have no Malagos and Shivs, some players have 1 Shadow Strike, some have 2, some have File Teachers, some don't. Like those are, a lot of that's personal choice, but still they differ quite a bit. And Xixo's just building up his board. He's going to start to push here.
There's no Twisting Nether over at Kranich's hand. He does have a Shadow Flame, but can only do it for 4 here. It would leave behind the Tyrion and the Karen here as well. And it's still the front half of that Karen as well. This Hellfire can do some damage to all this stuff as well, though. So this is the problem that you were talking about. Like, look at this board Xixo is presenting here to Kranich, and Kranich is having to work overtime to deal with this and use a bunch of resources. And I mean, look at Xixo's hand; he's just got so much behind this too. Like, Justicar is going to do a ton of work here, but a little bit of a good play for Kranich here, getting to take care of Tyrion and the Ashbringer in the same turn. One of the better plays he could do. There's that problem though that's not the only Ashbringer he's going to have to deal with this game.
The thing is, Kranich has drawn a lot of his combo pieces in the first couple turns. He did have to use the Faceless Manipulator early on, but Leroy Jenkins plus Power Warming is still a decent amount of burst from hand. He does have 7 damage represented on board, plus 10 from hand with the Leroy Jenkins and Power Warming. So he is getting close. We do have to think that, but is it going to be enough to push through? Xixo's going to have to whiff on healing for a long time in a deck that runs quite a bit of healing.
Yeah. It's interesting that he used the Faceless Manipulator in that manner, and probably correct the way that he used it, but maybe it might send some weird signals over to Xixo, like, why would he use this Faceless Manipulator like this when it's one of the ways that he's going to have to win this matchup? Maybe he doesn't have the other combo pieces in his hand and feels that it's the only way he had some game earlier in the game, the only way that he could stay in this, and maybe Xixo won't play around it too much. And there's an Emperor. If Kranich should have gotten a little greedier this game, we could have maybe seen that, dream hand, but I don't know if he had time to play for all this. Xixo was really putting on the pressure earlier.
And he has used Reno already, so the only heal he has left would be a Siphon Soul or Potentially a Cult Apothecary.
Yeah, he's already used Earth Ring Farseer as well. The Cult Apothecary would be actually pretty good here. Would almost get him back to full health. But
Yeah.
these Silverhand recruits are going to be doing some work over the next few turns. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we can be too greedy of this Emperor anymore. I think he actually just needs to get this threat into play and start doing some stuff. And, you know, this is the kind of play that can kind of get him back into a game. If you get to Emperor the right hands in this matchup and you can start to play 2 to 3 things a turn, if it just matches up perfectly with the Paladin hand, this is a way to steal a game.
Yeah. And so Stampeding Kodo picked up.
My favorite.
Yeah, but is there a way for Xixo to protect his board and enough to develop here? You know, there is ways to remove, but are they worth it? He could use an equality.
Yeah, I mean, equality, he gets to trade equality for Emperor Thorson and Doomsayer and keep some pressure in play if he wants, but I don't know if he would do this if there was no Emperor Thorson in play. If there was no Emperor Thorson in play, I think he would just like let the Doomsayer happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but well, actually, you know, it's not going to go off again if you just push damage here. I mean, you could just push 6, get 6-0 to 9, and
yeah, he could leave the Emperor Thorson up with Aldor Peacekeeper, but it looks like he is just going to equality.
Right, this way he gets to push a little bit of extra damage as well.
Yeah.
He gets the Kodo down this 1-1 and push 4. So, yeah, I kind of like this play from 6-0. Puts way more pressure on Kranich.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was one of the situations where I don't think there's really a bad way 6-0 can play that turn besides, like, doing nothing. You know, like, not attacking and, like, you know, just roping out. Like, all the plays Kranich are making are kind of feel like desperation plays at this point, and 6-0 just has so much pressure. I mean, like, Kranich can use Siphon Soul this turn to remove some power from the board and gain some life back. He can even develop a Mountain Giant as well. But, I mean, that's just going to meet a Humility or an Aldor Peacekeeper. You know, there's a Rag over in 6-0's hand where if he wants, there's a lot of ways 6-0 can lethal next turn with this Rag from here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna feel pretty bad for Kranich here. I'm pretty positive this is equality Ragnaros lethal right here. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
Well, without the Shadow Flame, it's not. With the Shadow Flame, he's gonna get another turn now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's one of those heals he had to dodge for the entire game. Almost doesn't even really need it at this point, though.
Yeah. And now you have to think, is it worth it to equality? Because you have 3 basically Aldor Peacekeeper effects, basically humility effects in your hand. I think you need to start using those and start building back up your 1/1s, as opposed to using your whole turn to put your opponent at 1, being vulnerable to Siphon Soul and vulnerable to like a silence on his own Mountain Giant to bring it back up to 8 attack in order to push through.
Yeah, I think Ragnaros
is Aldor.
Yeah, I think Ragnaros is something you can't do this turn. I think you have to wait till it's actually lethal, because if it gets removed, well, I mean, it's not the end of the world if it gets removed. You have the inevitability as the game goes on, so 6-0, you know, might choose that kind of line, but I wouldn't want to expose my Ragnaros here.
Yikes.
Well, actually, just going to go ahead and put him to 1. I don't, as I said, the inevitability of the deck. You can see 6-0 literally shrug with this play. Did you see that a second ago?
I'll put him at 1.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. He's like, you know, so Kranich can, I mean, if he wants to go max healing here, he could Cult Apothecary for 2, you know, get a little bit of a buffer, and Siphon Soul. He doesn't have to worry about burst from 6's deck other than the last True Silver Champion. He's already been through one of them, so that would actually play around that card.
Yeah, but maybe Cult Apothecary is going to get more value.
Yeah.
As this matchup goes on, especially with the Justicar True Heart Hero Power from Xixo.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
See, Kranich is trying to figure out not only how to not die, but how to sneak in 8 more damage and not have 6-0 heal from some point here as well. And I guess this is the line that's going to get it done. This is going to put him away from True Silver Champion lethals and present a 4-4. I think that's one of the only reasons you really consider that play this turn, is this puts a 4-4 into play. And Xixo with another Peacekeeper effect here is going to kind of take that play away from Kranich.
Oh.
Oh.
I was thinking the Corrupted Healbot's a weird choice. I was thinking, well, he has Corrupted Healbot in the deck, and he also used the Faceless Manipulator.
Yeah.
So maybe he has a N'Zoth.
We didn't know about the N'Zoth. That was actually a really good play earlier, taking the Tyrion.
How does
now
he? Like, I want to know how he fits all this stuff in here. He's got combo, like the Faceless Manipulator, the other combo. Plus, he feels like he has enough Death Rattles to play N'Zoth. It's interesting to me. And now, how much damage is this?
I mean, hold on.
Okay, well, he's going to Forbidden Healing for 10, so he's going to go back up to 28. But yeah, that's still 21 damage being represented on the board with Leroy Jenkins and Power Overwhelming.
Yeah, and you can see Xixo kind of frowning here because this game went from looking pretty easy, like it was just locked up, to there's a chance he loses this game from this spot.
Yeah, Kranich could actually do 25 damage because he could actually trade in the Tyrion.
Yeah, I think that's something you actually might want to start doing this turn, is start getting Ashbringer to start. I mean, Ashbringer represents 15 damage from this spot.
You Shadow Ball your own minions?
I think it says opponent's minion. I'm not 100% on that, though.
Deal 4 damage to a minion. No, he could.
Oh, wow, you can Shadow Ball your own guy.
Wait, no, is that lethal? He can silence his own Occult Apothecary, go face, Shadow Bolt his own Tyrion, Ashbringer.
Oh yeah, this is actually just lethal. This is a really creative lethal from Kranich here.
Yeah. I was gonna say, is there a possible lethal? But I counted one off.
Wow. Big props to Kranich here for finding a win with this deck. This is a really bad matchup, and he got really creative here. I mean, the Faceless on the Tyrion earlier in the game, I kind of talked about how it seemed like a good and right play at the time, but, it might come back to haunt him as the game went on because he needs that to win with the Leroy Jenkins combo. Little did we know there was an N'Zoth waiting in this deck to give him a second Tyrion.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, exactly.
Yeah,
the new emote, 100%.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, is there a possible lethal? I didn't even
catch.
Yeah, it was a little bit interesting to see how that game played out, because Kranich looked like he was in an impossible position, but that it all makes sense in the long run. Like using the Faceless Manipulator early on, despite having the combo, just knowing his deck and knowing the extent and the possible win conditions that deck could muster up. So really interesting stuff. Great spot by Kranich, and he's going to be rewarded with a 1-0 lead in the series, and now he's going to throw out his mid-range Shaman.
TJ, that's how he fits it all in. He has the Faceless Manipulator in his deck to just glue it all together. He doesn't need to run the Death Rattles. His opponents do it for him.
Like, Xixo's running the exact same deck. Corrupted Healbot, and, everything else looks the same. So this would sort of not give a nod to the fact that, these guys they prepared together, which we knew because of Xixo's tweet. But it means that they decided on the same decks as well, so.
Kranich missed the damage here.
Oh, no.
Just joking, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, if Kranich knows the whole deck list here, too, that's actually got to give him a little bit of an advantage, too. And, yeah, I love Manatide Totem in this matchup, by the way. If you can get them to trade a removal spell for Manatide Totem, you got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, and it's got to be Shadow Bolt.
Mm-hmm. It's like their premium removal spell, too. That's one of the only ones they have that remotely 1-for-1s a Totem Golem or for around the same mana cost.
Yeah, well, it's the only hard removal spell that even exists, pretty much.
God, I miss Dark Bomb.
Anymore, yeah. Dark Bomb was rotated out, so it's a little bit unfortunate. And Xixo feels like he can't spend the Shadow Bolt to get rid of this Manatide, because there's a lot of other stuff that's higher priority. If he plays a Totem Golem next turn, like, what does he have to be able to deal with that?
Yeah, Kranich has the option to play 2/2 drops here and use his mana really efficiently, but I really like trying to protect this Manatide Totem. If this goes unchecked for 3 or 4 turns, there's almost no way Xixo can keep up. If he's drawing just as many cards or more cards than the Warlock deck is, his cards are lower to the ground. They're a lot lighter on the mana cost and more efficient at dealing damage. So he can put a ton of pressure on Xixo while getting a ton of cards as well. There's a Hex in his hand to deal with this Twilight Drake, but
Is it worth it? He knows
exactly.
that Xixo's playing the same deck as him with lots of, high impact death rattles like Sylvanas and Karen. So Hex is a high priority removal.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hex. I'm glad you brought that up. Hex has just worked overtime in this matchup, so I think it's so important that he keeps it for something like, say, the Sylvanas over in Xixo's hand. And yeah, now he can go ahead and trade here, and that's the third Manatide Totem that just came into Kranich's hand.
Yeah.
Do you like to draw cards? Because Kranich does, and he's doing a really good job of it.
What Xixo could do is he could just purposefully keep these Manatide Totems alive. Yeah. To just fatigue Kranich.
Yeah, just start the fatigue plan now.
Yeah. Kranich should just play another one. He could Manatide Totem, Hero Power, and Think from Below.
I heard you like Manatide Totems, bro.
Yeah. Or you could Totem Golem and Think from Below. That might be a little bit more powerful.
Yeah. And Xixo having a little fun with this match today.
Yeah.
Can't blame him. That's the third Manatide Totem on turn 6.
Yeah, and drawing cards for Shamans is so powerful because of some of the synergies that some of the cards have. It means you're more likely to be able to flood the board for a Bloodlust turn. It means you're more likely to have the Rockbiters along with the Doomhammer. It means you're more likely to have multiple Hexes. So there's, lots of high impact cards for Shaman that are really great if they're drawn at the perfect time. And that just drawing more cards. He always drawn 5 cards now from Manatides. I don't even know. I've lost count.
Yeah, and this is a scary spot for Xixo too. He probably knows about the Bloodlust, and he doesn't have time just yet to play an AoE spell. But he is at 27. Kranich can't exactly kill him yet this turn, but he can deal a lot of damage. You said there's a ton of burst in his hand. He's got Doomhammer plus Rockbiter. He's got Bloodlust. He's actually just got too many choices. He's got 9 cards in his hand on turn 6 as a Shaman, and he's been using all of his mana.
Yeah. He can... I think this is going to be a Lightning Storm turn. But I guess he's going to use... Hopefully he rolls high and use the... I was going to say the Rockbiter, but I guess he's just going to ignore the Twilight Drake for now. This is a little bit susceptible to Shadow Flame, but he understands... Okay, well, he just rolls up the Flame Traveler. I was going to say, if he misses this, or if he missed the damage, like if he had rolled a 2 initially, then that would have been really vulnerable to Shadow Flame. But I think Kranich realized that Shadow Flame would have been used on his board full of Manatide Totems if it was in the hand of Xixo. So, Cult Apothecary is drawn. That's going to be a good follow-up if Kranich has a reload.
Yeah, Kranich draws another minion here, which he does. In fact, he's actually got 4 if he wants here.
He does have Doomhammer double Rockbiter.
So it is something he needs to be careful with his mana over the next few turns. That's what's taking Kranich a little bit of time here. He's going to make sure that he just gets in as much damage as he can while still having the option of Doomhammering double Rockbiter. And that's a lot of damage, TJ.
Yeah, well, Bloodlust would probably be even more damage. Bloodlust plus double Rockbiter. So right now there's 4, 5, 6 damage on the board, plus 12 for Bloodlust is 18, plus double Rockbiter would be 24 damage that Kranich can do next turn. Because he will have 7 mana available.
See, Xixo plays around that. I mean, after this many cards have been drawn by Kranich so far this game, you just start having to play around everything, right? You just have to take the least amount of damage possible as you can, or you have to you could also just YOLO and try to win from this spot, but I don't even see a chance of Xixo doing that here. I don't see a play line with, say, a YOLO Alexstrasza on your opponent and trying to combo him next turn through these 2 taunt minions. I don't see a way of him doing that.
Yeah. So, both, if he stays at 22, both Doomhammer double Rockbiter and Bloodlust double Rockbiter would be lethal. Just depends on which one he wants to do. But Cult Apothecary is going to be played, so that's going to interrupt that.
Yeah, Xixo back up to 30, but we can see that life total isn't exactly safe. And I think this is a really good Doomhammer turn. You get even a free thing from below this turn as well. I think what Kranich is worried about is he doesn't want to burst too much in one turn and have Xixo just reno it all back.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to kind of space out his damage over the next few turns, and that's a chance for Xixo to get back into this game a little bit as well.
He might opt to trade here, hit twice into the Cult Apothecary with the Doomhammer, develop the thing from below in the Totem Golem, and then push damage, because he'd still, develop a reasonably sized board. He'd still push a little bit of damage, and he'd still preserve his lethal for the following turn.
Yeah,
but he wouldn't give away too much to Xixo, maybe. And you're not really too worried about your life total right now, because you're the one with all the pressure. So taking 8 damage isn't that big of a deal in order to preserve what you have on the board.
Are you worried about Xixo killing your weapon, though, if you were to Doomhammer without getting the burst damage from the Rock Biters?
Oh,
Or you just...
yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be what's playing through his mind. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because Acidic Swamp Ooze is almost an auto keep against...
Against Shaman, yeah.
Yeah, against Shaman. So maybe it'd be a good idea to just hold onto the weapon and not play. That's a really great point.
Yeah, and like you can see Xixo's face here, like the real frown on it. He's like, wait a minute, you had 5 more mana and 6 more cards and you didn't use it. This kind of telegraphs what Kranich has in his hand, but there's not really much Xixo can do about it. That's the funny thing. You know, he can just keep playing his game, but he knows at some point in time there's going to be a turn where Kranich just 24s him or 20s him out of nowhere, so he has to keep his life total as high as possible, and he's running out of resources in which to do that. You know, it's always in any card game where like my opponent is like slightly ahead of me or in the lead, like Kranich is here, and they pass with like 5 mana and 6 cards. I'm always like, so I'm just dead, right? Like there's no way your hand is a blank. Like I'm trying to think of a 6-card hand Kranich could have here that doesn't kill Xixo, and I can't find one.
Hex,
right? It's like Hex, and then what?
Hex, Rockbiter, Primal Fusion.
Okay, and then even then Xixo's still in kind of a bad spot, actually, because, I mean, there's going to be some gigantic minions in a minute.
Yeah, well...
Right, no, this isn't lethal, is it? Rockbiter, Doomhammer, Hex. That's 16, 21... No, he's just short, right?
Yeah. What about Bloodlust with double Rockbiter and a Hex? Because that's possible as well.
Yeah, you have to run one of the guys into the thing from below.
Yeah, so we'd have 7 plus 9 plus 6. So that'd be 22. So no matter which way you slice it, I don't think there's a lethal. Just because that extra attack that you have to spend on the Hex, and then since you don't have lethal, you need to Hex the Sylvanas just to get that off the board. So we're still gonna have to wait. So once again, Kranich is gonna have to do what he can to clear the board, load up as much stuff as he can, keep his board as resilient as possible, and hold on to the Doomhammer as to not make it vulnerable to the Acidic Swamp Ooze.
Yeah, it's been a really awkward game for Kranich here. He has so much damage output in his hand, but he can't find the right spot to do it. And I know people watching are like, why doesn't he just, 20-6-0 and then kill him the turn after? Like, not even Alex Straza saves him. He's worried about Xixo having Reno Jackson in his hand.
Yeah.
Not a bad top deck from Xixo here, but it would not actually clear this board.
Yeah, Demon Wrath would get really close also. But the thing is, you wouldn't be able to make the attack into the Master of Evolution after the Demon Wrath, because it would kill off your own Cult Apothecary because of the Stoneclaw totem. So both of those are very awkward.
Totems make for awkward games, and I know you love it, TJ. I know it's your favorite thing in Hearthstone.
I was actually playing Ladder this morning just a little bit before we went live on the broadcast, and I was playing against Shamans, and I was thinking to myself, as I equipped a Fire War Axe and attacked into a Healing Totem, where did I go wrong in my life?
This is my life right now. So somewhere I made a mistake.
Yeah, all my life just like I had these huge string of flashbacks. I'm like, oh god, all of this has led up to me killing a Healing Totem with a Fiery War Axe.
Right, well, here we go. This is kind of a creative play line. What you can do here is use Demon Wrath plus Power of a Woman to practically clear this deck. There's a 1/1 left over. Kranich can push a little bit of damage here. He's got Totem Golem plus Primal Fusion as like a reload. But here's the thing, he's starting to run out of repetitive damage, and Xixo's still at a pretty high life total, but this might be able to get him just low enough to Doomhammer next turn if Xixo doesn't find a Taunter or a heal.
Yeah, so let's count the damage for next turn. He's only got 4 plus 9, which is 13. Double Rockbiter 6, that's 19. Plus Primal Fusion, he would have lethal if he could totem up. He'd be 1 mana off. Because right now, Primal Infusion will only be plus 2. So he would have 21 damage, I think. Doomhammer double Rockbiter would be, 16. Oh, no. Doomhammer double Rockbiter would be it, because you'd have 16 damage, plus the 4 on the board, so that'd be 20, plus the Primal Fusion, so that'd be 22. So Doomhammer double Rockbiter would do it.
And Xixo picks up a Defender of Argus here, but he can't pair it with any minion that he wants to. And I'm going to say, I'm pretty sure Xixo is off here.
Wow, and I think that's exact lethal.
Yeah, this should be game right here. Doomhammer, Double Rockbiter, Primal Fusion is exactly enough. And Xixo knows this is coming. You have to feel that you're most likely dead here, but you have to make the play that you have to make there.
Yeah, and I don't blame Xixo for that play. Like I think he played that game as well as you could have. You know, double Manatide or triple Manatide totem early on in the game. Put Kranich in a position where he drew, so much of his deck. That game would have been a lot different if he had drawn 3 less cards because he would have had the burst or he would have had the minions to reload. He would not have had all 3, so he wouldn't be able to threaten lethal. He would have just been able to reload the board. And Xixo did a great job of finding creative ways to clear and creative ways to put himself out of range of that combo for a really long time. So props to him, but Kranich is going to take a 2-0 lead in the series with N'Zoth Paladin and Tempo Warrior remaining as his 2 decks.
Oh, absolutely. Like I think Xixo played the game really, really well. There was just nothing he could do when the aggro deck in the matchup is drawing significantly more cards than you are, and they're doing it for free while still pressuring you. You're just in the worst spot possible. I mean, there's almost nothing you can do from that spot, and I think Xixo played perfectly to even make it a game.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how do you like this matchup? It's like Tempo Warrior versus the Control Priest deck, and this has a lot of AoE in it. And I mean, Xixo has an amazingly controlling hand for the Priest deck as well to start.
I played 2 of this matchup this morning, and they were very skewed in my favor because there's a couple ways this matchup goes. There's one where the Priest just has everything. They have AoE, they stop your tempo in its tracks. A lot of your removal is useless against the Priest because sometimes they just don't play stuff. They just react to all your stuff. But there's also situations where, like what happened to me today, I coined out a Frolic Berserker on turn 3. I played a Frolic Berserker on turn 4. I played a Bloodhoof Brave on turn 5. And on turn 6, I double Whirlwinded and killed him.
Profit, yeah.
So, like, that happens sometimes where the Priest just does not draw into anything. And right now, it looks like Xixo has what he needs. He's got Alkanite Soul Priest, Circle of Healing. He's got Entomb if he can't deal with something, like if a Karen comes out in this Tempo Warrior match, or if an emergency like Frothing Berserker that he can't deal with comes out. And he also has Harrison Jones to get rid of these weapons. So I think that Xixo's in a fantastic spot in this game. You can still pressure out the Priest as the Warrior in this matchup. But, it relies a lot on being able to get timely threats. A timely Karen, into Rag, into Varian Rin, that pulls out a bunch of your stuff that the Priest can't deal with. And I don't know if Kranich is going to be able to muster that up.
Yeah, you made a really good point there. It feels to me exactly like what you said is Priest in a nutshell. They're so polarized. I feel that they almost never, like, barely win a game. That happens sometimes, but they either, like, crush your soul, that have everything plus all these extra cards, or they struggle to keep up and just get crushed through the span of the game. And that's one of the problems that I have with the class is, like, the inconsistency of it, because it's really hard to, like, do anything when your hand, you don't have a lot of flexibility with your cards.
Yeah.
And stuff. So, like, that's one of the problems I have with it, but the deck is actually getting way better, and that's why you're seeing it more in the competitive scene now.
Mm-hmm. See, like, if you don't have Alkanite Soul Priest and Circle of Healing in this situation, all of a sudden this board becomes incredibly threatening.
Mm-hmm. I mean, not just to mention the damage. I mean, the Battle Rage would be insane for Kranich as well next turn.
Yeah. So, this matchup, I think, overall would go in the favor of the Warrior more times than the Priest. But, good
options.
Yeah, Shifting Shade is, like, always in there. If you've played N'Zoth Priest and you played Museum Curator, it's like Shifting Shade is always your backup option. Like, it basically, Museum Curator reads, pick a Shifting Shade or 2 other Death Rattle minions. Discover a Shifting Shade and 2 other Death Rattle minions is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, this is a pretty good top deck for Kranich here. Great tempo play. Allows him to put a 3/3 on the board and take care of this Alkanite Soul Priest. And, I mean, he's even got some decent plays available to him next turn. He can just run into and bounce off the Museum Curator and get a better Battle Rage if Xixo allows him to do this as well.
Mm-hmm. But with a tempo deck like this one, you want to be the one who's sort of playing the proactive threats. And if Xixo is able to just, plop down a cairn here, or even just plop down a threat at all, then Kranich having to play reactively really cuts into his game plan, because a lot of his cards are meant to sort of protect his own minions, and with a hand with only one minion in it, if he's not the one playing these threats, then he's going to find himself in a rough position.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday. Xixo found a way to fit Cabal Shadow Priest in this deck too. So if another Bloodhoof Brave shows up, that could be a big swing turn for Xixo.
Mm-hmm. Now he can get a reasonable Battle Rage here, and also clear off this Museum Curator. 2 cards is sort of like the sort of the benchmark. It's still a 2-mana Arcane Intellect, which is very powerful. The card has a lot of potential, but you're okay with seeing 2 cards.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about earlier the Shifting Shades. I remember I saw a picture on Twitter that somebody posted where they played the mirror match of this deck, the N'Zoth Priest deck, and they both had a N'Zoth in play, and the rest of the board was Shifting Shades.
And then they start attacking into the Shifting Shades, and all they keep getting is more Shifting Shades.
I think the game breaks at that point. I think actual Hearthstone shuts down.
Mm-hmm. What is the sprites?
Yeah,
the
playful
message?
sprites.
The playful sprites.
I had a lot of problems with playful sprites yesterday.
Yeah, everybody's been there. Some people have that more often than others.
So what does Kranich do here? Xixo is actually putting quite the board.
Well, there is sort of a resource-heavy play where you can Acolyte of Pain, Whirlwind, and Ravaging Ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
Which Execute doesn't really change too much. It just means he can remove the Cabal Shadow Priest.
Yeah, there's no way for him to get in the extra attack from his weapon to remove the Cabal Shadow Priest's turn, since he can't use Slam and Whirlwind. He has to choose one of which, I kind of like using Whirlwind here because it kills 2 minions kind of and draws a card. It feels like Kranich is playing a resource game at this point.
Yeah. I think
he's going to execute.
Yeah, I think that attack's sort of inconsequential because your opponent's only into 9 mana. Almost always they're going to be able to fit in a heal to bring their total back up, but I guess that sort of stops them from healing their face, and that the way you win this matchup is sort of by out-pressuring. But Kranich does have Varian Wrynn, which can be a big swing, especially nowadays since priests don't have Light Bomb. If you pull 3 minions from your deck that are all reasonably powerful, like if you pull a Korkon Elite, a Bloodhoof Brave, and something else, there's no Shifting Shade.
I was just about to say, this Museum Curator is bugged.
Yeah.
I wish you could see my face. I was like, what's going on here? I don't know what these cards do. They're not Shifting Shade.
Harvey
Oh, wait, there's one. Good old Harvey G. What's up?
Oh, man. Oh, that attack ended up mattering a lot last turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kranich has all of his. It's like you said, he has Grom and Varian Wrynn here, so he has a lot of his late game stuff. So he's not out of it just yet. He can draw a lot of extra cards here, go through a ton of his deck. Mm-hmm. Kind of control this board a little bit, get another really good battle rate. So he's drawing a ton of cards here. He's gonna run out of cards pretty soon.
Yeah, but that's the sort of thing with this deck is, it's a tempo deck. You're supposed to, if you draw into all your cards, it means you should have been able to deal 30 plus damage during the game because the cards are just so powerful. But now, I don't know if Kranich is going to be able to fight against this. This is a ragtag crew of misfit death rattles.
Who wins, N'Zoth or Varian Wrynn? Because unless Kranich can piece together some weird turn here, I think you just have to Varian Wrynn and hope for the best here.
Yep. Okay. Ravaging Ghoul.
Not the greatest.
Rag.
That was all right.
Okay.
All right. If this hits N'Zoth, and it does.
Oh, we got a game.
Yeah, Xixo, not happy about the way some of the random stuff has been going in this match for him.
Well, the thing is, he can still just entomb Shadow or Death and clean the board. Like that's a realistic possibility. The thing is, like, which one do you entomb? Do you want a Varian Wrynn, or do you want a Ragnaros?
I think you entomb Rag, right? Varian Wrynn's just too greedy. It's the cooler play for sure. And I'm all about making the cool splashy play, but It's better to take Ragnaros, right?
Yeah, you pull like Northshire Cleric, Wild Pyromancer, and like a Flash Heal into your hand.
It's a whole bunch of do nothings.
Ooh, okay. He's not going to go for an Entomb play here. I guess he's going to flood the board and leave the Rag up, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I like that play. The Reg doesn't really do much against this board. In before just hits 6 on the face 3 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Kranich can survive that long.
Oh, okay, he's just going to use the board to clean up, I suppose.
Well, he's still got the, yeah, he can still Wild Pyromancer into Shadow Word Pain here. Yeah, he's going to leave the Ragnaros up because he can just take it next turn. Yeah, this is a good play from Xixo. It develops a huge board, draws a ton of cards. I mean, he can even Circle of Healing here, yeah, to refill his entire hand. You know, Kranich is drawing a lot of cards this game, but Xixo just did one of the more powerful ways of drawing cards in the game. That's a lot of cards. And he gained 8 armor this turn. Those are pretty good.
And he Flash Healed his face, I think, because he needed to get rid of a card.
I'm having flashbacks to Patron Warrior right now with the rope just sitting on the end for like a full minute because you've queued up, 15 actions.
That's
Was that a good turn?
Gain 23 health, draw 7 cards, and clear your opponent's board. Yeah, I think Kranich is going to try here, but it's going to be tough for him to get through 50 points of health. Okay, he's even going to Blood to Ichor, but Xixo has a full hand of stuff. What did you say about 3 times in a row? Yeah.
Made to fit. Do you like to play with fire?
It just feels like when the priest wins, it's just such a dominating victory, right?
It's exactly what you were saying before. There's not really a close match. It's either, the priest just rubs your face into the dirt over and over again, or you don't even give the priest the time of the day and you just brush past him and beat them on turn 6.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often where you're like, man, that priest barely got me,
Yeah.
That Frothing Berserker is getting quite large here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this seems like a really convoluted way to get it done, but I think
it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, he just wants to get his life total back up.
He could take multiple hits from that Frothing Berserker and still live through this game. And the Frothing Berserker had 22 power.
Yeah. Kranich is gonna do his best here, but this game is all but over.
He's fighting the good fight. You got to give him credit. He doesn't give up. I mean, I don't blame him either because I think it's there's like less than a 5%. There's like about a 2% chance that you win this game. But if you always play these out over the span of a year, that's a lot of free victories. And Xixo's gonna kind of rub it in a little bit here.
The chance of all of the internet in Germany going out is the chance for Kranich to win this game.
Xixo could fall asleep.
Yeah, that's true. I think we ran into that issue yesterday at some point.
I think we did.
So stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and this is actually just lethal right here. This turn, right? Yeah, this is exactly lethal. Yep. And so Xixo is gonna get on the board with Priest. Something I didn't think I would be saying too often.
Yeah, Priest is definitely in a pretty good spot right now, I'd say. Priest. The thing is, though, Priest is always in a good spot at the beginning of metas because decks are much less refined, and Priest is one of the best reactive classes. They're the best at punishing decks that don't hit timing windows, that aren't well refined. So even if you look back to the beginning of GVG, or even if you look back to like the beginning of Nax, if you look back to the beginning of all of the big expansions and the big changes in Hearthstone, Priest was always good at the beginning because it's great at punishing those decks. And like the game plan it never really changes. It's always, be reactive and have some type of late game win condition, whether it be at least Starseeker or N'Zoth nowadays, or like Ysera way back in the day. It always has like that bomb that it plays after it's removed all of your stuff. So maybe we'll see a change, but right now Priest is in a good spot, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen any Dragon Priest either, because that was actually one of the decks people were talking about a good bit, going into Standard. They're like, it doesn't really miss that much. It's not losing too many cards, and that seemed to be the big talk. The decks that were like not losing too many cards, and instead we're seeing all these decks that gained cards that are actually making the big impacts.
My favorite matchup. Wow, their hands look almost identical.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take a nap if it's okay with you.
No, this matchup's actually really fun.
No, it is actually really good. Yeah, it's way better than it used to be.
Yeah, it's Tempo Warrior versus Tempo Warrior, and it's not at all like Tempo Mage versus Tempo Mage, because Tempo Mage versus Tempo Mage, there's rarely any swings.
Right.
Basically, what happens is the first player to take control of the board is the player that wins. But this deck has so much. I want to say intricacy, but it's not really intricacy. It's just like damage. There's just so much damage being done all over the place. Not to just like faces, but to the board. Both players are trying to damage each other's minions. Both warriors are trying to damage their own minions to activate Battle Rage, because card advantage is a big deal in this matchup. And Battle Rage is one of the ways that you get that card advantage. But also, it's sort of an equal and opposite reaction on the other side, where if you damage your opponent's minions, they're going to be able to Battle Rage. And if you damage your own minions, your opponents are more likely to kill them because they're more damaged. So there's a lot of swing turns in this matchup, unlike other tempo mirror matchups, just because of the fact that there's so many whirlwind effects, there's so many like one damage effects. And there are some games that snowball, but it only happens when one player's hand is so much better than the other player's hand.
Yeah, the other player draws like all their blood tickers and all their whirlwinds, and the other player just has frothing berserker, and you're like, well, I can't kill it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But weapons are also a big deal in this matchup too.
Yeah. So I would say it feels that way for sure. And so Kranich gets a little bit of a tempo boost there, but Xixo is going to start to push on a little bit more pressure as well.
Yeah. And pressure is, there in all matchups, usually there's an aggressor and a defender, and in a mirror matchup, one player sort of has to take responsibility for applying pressure.
I like the way you put that.
Especially in a matchup like this, where if you sit back on your laurels, then eventually like nothing will ever get accomplished, because both players will run out of cards and you'll go to a fatigue.
Kranich is setting up a really aggressive turn here next turn with, a Ghoul and a Korkron Elite, in his hand that he can start to deal a ton of damage. But Xixo just picked up an Execute. Let's see how aggressive he wants to get with this card, because he's falling pretty far behind here.
Yeah,
this is a threatening board.
The thing is, you can take damage early in this matchup and just come back with, like I said, those big swing turns where you just stack all your whirlwinds. Like where you just like whirlwind, ravage a ghoul, and then execute the big threat that's left, and all of a sudden you're in the league.
I was gonna say, I like just being aggressive here if I'm Kranich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I do like taking the possibly take. Well, what does the trade do here actually?
It just protects
Battle Rage.
Yeah, it stops Battle Rage. It also protects you if there's an execute, which Xixo has drawn 4 cards in between. If there's an execute, it protects your weaponsmith, Arathi weaponsmith.
All right, Xixo's gonna start to regain this board a little bit here, and like you said, he can take the damage, but he's not gonna bow out just yet.
Yeah, and even though this is, both of these decks are considered tempo. In the mirror matchup, you can't really afford to use your executes too liberally. You can use the first one liberally as long as you have the second one available, but there's so many big threats that you have to worry about in the back of your mind. It's almost impossible to deal with a rag without using either, a ton of resources or an execute. So, those are the types of things that you have to keep in the back of your mind when you're playing this matchup.
Yeah, running a huge Frothing Berserker into Ragnaros does not feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Or like having to trade your Grom for the card. Whew,
yeah.
that doesn't feel good either.
I was gonna say running a huge Frothing Berserker into Rag is one of the better ways you can deal with it. Like that. That's one of the ones that feels the best.
Yeah.
And it looks like both of these players have subbed Karin for Sylvanas. There's like that slot is kind of the only slot that's flexible in this deck, as far as I've seen. You know, the deck is still relatively new. As far as I've seen, the 6-drop is either Sylvanas, Karin, or in rare cases, the new Hogger.
So we might get to see that play that you're talking about. This Frothing Berserker might have to trade into Ragnaros.
Yeah, but I think that's just game because Xixo doesn't have any way to get above 10 health.
Yep. And this Grom Whirlwind that he doesn't know about just yet. I mean, you know, he's got to have that in the back of his mind, obviously, but I don't think he can afford to play around it.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't execute in his hand. Doesn't have a real easy way to activate it, though. His hand is kind of cluttered. I mean, there's just a lot of 8-drops and 10-drops in his hand.
Yeah.
His hand weighs a metric ton here, actually. It's a 1-drop he can't play, a Battle Rage for 1 card, and then a bunch of 7s and 8s and 10s.
How much does an execute weigh?
I mean, when it can't be cast, it's infinite. It weighs all the weight.
Old.
I have no time for games.
Looks like Xixo is just going to, do his best to survive, but he has to know here that he's dead.
Yeah, the way Kranich has played this, you have to feel like he's gonna have some way to finish you off. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the quicker ways I've seen this matchup end. A lot of times it does come down to fatigue just by how much removal everybody has. But Kranich, he had all those big threats early on, and he was able to close out the game with a Grom like right on time, like right on turn 9 is early activated with this deck. So that's not usually the case. But Kranich did a great job of spotting when to go aggressive and going for it. And maybe Xixo played a little too quickly early on in the game and took a little bit too much damage. And like in that turn where he played Acolyte of Pain, where he could have executed that turn, but instead decided to draw another card. Like those types of plays where he opted to dig deeper in his deck, but take more damage in order to do so, instead of being more proactive with his removal. Who knows if that would have changed the outcome of the game, but yeah, always something to consider. But now Kranich is 1 game away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a really good point, actually. I was like trying to think back in the game because I was ready for this like super long, grindy game where there's a lot of intricate plays, and I mean, Kranich just kind of beat him up. So
yeah. All right. So this matchup is probably the matchup that I feel the least comfortable with not in like playing it or watching it, but in determining who's favored, because this deck has so many like medium-sized threats. It's hard for the Paladin to determine when a threat is enough to use removal on. And you can't really proactively Humility or Eldor Peacekeeper a lot of the threats. Because if you do that with a Frothing Berserker, they can just buff it back up. If you do that with a Bloodhound Grave, they can just buff it back up. And you don't really want to Eldor Peacekeeper like a Slime or a Fierce Monkey or anything like that. So it's I don't know.
I was actually about to ask you about that. I was like, that card, I was going to say, Humility feels awkward in this matchup for sure.
Yeah. It's great in Karin, but it's not even good against Rag. A lot of times it's not even good against Sylvanas because you're not getting rid of the effect. You're just getting rid of its attack, but it could still trade into something in order to take it.
That was an interesting top deck for Xixo here. He was going to position Blood to Ichor and Armor Up, but instead he fills up a Ravaging Ghoul. This gets to put in another threat this turn as well.
Yeah. So keep in mind, this is the winners match of the winners semifinals of Group A. So the winner of this match does move on to the winner bracket final in order to compete for that spot in the group stage, the main event group stage. And the loser of this match is not out of the tournament. They just go down to the losers bracket semifinals, where one of the players that won their second match yesterday is waiting for them. So this is not an elimination match, but still winning this match and moving on to the winners bracket finals is a big deal because it gives you a lot of leeway in the future.
Absolutely. You never want to be like fighting for your life early in a tournament. It's a pretty bad feeling if you have your back to the wall every single round. Just so much stress and stuff. When you kind of just want to be able to take it easy. You're like, oh, I just keep winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. And Xixo's been having a rough time so far this round. It feels like the turn 2 Acidic Swampu's got a good reaction from both players.
Yeah. Giving up complete initiative is it just feels so rough.
And here he has to do it again. But I mean, it's not like he gets like super punished. I mean, Karen is actually one of the better plays to make here, but this isn't game over for Xixo here. He's got a lot of resources in his hand. If he picks up something like Battle Rage, he can start to really get in this game as it goes along.
Yeah. So I think I played 3 games of this matchup in like the past 2 days, and I've won all of them. But the thing is, I don't really know how I did it. I felt like I was behind the whole game, and somehow I managed to piece together a win. So that's why I said this matchup feels like it's a bad matchup, because some of their removal lines up really well. Like it's a tempo deck, and they have a lot of anti-tempo with Equality Consecrate and Equality Wild Pyromancer. Bloodhoof Brave is just so powerful against, or Stampede Kodo is so powerful against a lot of cards, including Bloodhoof Brave, Armor Smith, Acolyte of Pain, to be able to deny that stuff. Even the Slime from Blood to Ichor. And, they just have so much healing, so the pressure that you get doesn't stick. So the matchup feels like on paper would be bad, but like somehow you can find ways to piece together wins, which is weird to me.
Mm-hmm. So you feel like the matchup's bad, but you just keep winning it. All right.
Yeah.
Must be nice. The blessed life of TJ Sanders.
And I mean, it might just be that I was playing against inexperienced Soft Paladin players because it's ladder. So
right.
It's a lot different than tournament play where these players know exactly how to win. The players that I was playing against may not have known, it may have been their first time playing the deck. Who knows?
Yeah.
Definitely not Kranich's first time playing the deck.
Yeah, this is going to be one of my favorite ways to kill a minion in all of Hearthstone, especially something like Ragnaros. I'll Peacekeeper that, then I'll Stampede and Kodo it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Xixo needs to draw a lot of cards here.
And he's only going to be able to draw 2.
Yeah, this Battle Rage is, I mean...
Actually, 4.
Well, here
4
we go.
cards.
Here we go. So he's got a little bit working now. He's got this Battle Rage working. He's going to execute behind this if he wants to. Ooh, even picks up a Fiery War Axe. Is that better here?
I think you got a Battle Rage.
Yeah, it feels like you just
why
need to
not?
draw the cards here.
Yeah, your minion's going to get killed off. You're going to damage yourself, which means that you'll be able to
That's
get a Battle Rage like from your own face. But I guess if one of your minions gets cleared off, it would be the same. But I don't know if Kranich is going to let those minions survive. Maybe he feels like he has to hold on to Consecration for an Equality Activator, but he can Consecrate and then Solemn Vigil and, dig deeper. He still has 2 Wild Pyromancers in his deck.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really like Consecration Solemn Vigil this turn. Either just finding some more answers or finding some more threats here. You could tell Xixo just had to expend a ton of his resources last turn just to stay in this game. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this is the time where you start trying to turn the corner if you're Kranich.
Yeah. Oh, well, Blood to Ichor ends up being a good pickup because it allows him to take out the Ejected Pure. But still, maybe not going to be able to find another spot to use his Battle Rage to great effect. But this deck can pull a lot of damage out of nowhere. If Kranich is forced to use this Equality at some point, and then a Varian Rin comes out and pulls a bunch of really impactful cards, then there is chances for Xixo to still piece together wins. And that's why he's not giving up so easy. That's why he's trying to cycle through his deck as fast as possible.
Have I told you how much I love Stampede and Kodo, by the way?
No, you haven't. This is
I feel like I mentioned it once or twice.
Wait, what card again?
Stampeding Kodo, TJ.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, it's a pretty good card.
It's my Valentine. I love that card.
I have no time for games.
Get a room.
Sylvanas, he's got a Grom. If you find Varian Rin, maybe we can find a way into this game. You're definitely right. There's some play lines that Xixo can make from here. He's drawing a lot of cards and he's keeping up quite a bit.
Like I said, sometimes you just win and you don't know how you won.
And you're like, I guess I somehow assembled this to work.
Yeah.
Ooh, Spellbreaker off the top. That's a decent answer to Sylvanas.
Yeah, I feel like Kranich has just had, some really great answers so far in this game. Being
In
able to
this
deal
match too. Yeah.
in this match, yeah. And being able to deal with Rag as easily as he did is, a tough thing to do. Especially since a lot of times you have to use Aldor, like your Aldor Peacekeeper effects a lot earlier in the matchup. But Xixo just didn't draw into his threats early enough. So, but oh wow, the forbidden healing on the
Yeah.
stampeding Kodo.
Kranich just became my favorite player ever.
A slap in the face if I've ever seen one.
I was just about to say, you know it's rough when they're forbidden healing their minions.
Yeah.
That's a double frothing berserker hand for Xixo. This brings back some like really. I'm having some post-traumatic stress disorder like flashbacks to Patron before the nerf. Of oh wait, he's got 2 frothing berserkers. That's like 57 damage.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I got an odd number in there.
Yeah. The beginning of caster math with patrons.
I remember I got to do a patron mirror once with Firebat, and I just like sat back and let him talk for like the entire match because his understanding of the matchup was insane for one thing, but the quickness in which that he did all the math was amazing as well. Ooh, Nazoth picked up for Kranich here.
Yeah.
What does he have die so far this game that comes back? He's at a Cairn.
Cairn is it, I think.
Yeah. Is that good enough here?
I don't think so.
Yeah, this equality seems just too good to pass up.
Yeah.
Kranich still have coin in his hand too.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see a situation come up where equality is relevant in taking away the, I'm using quotations here, taking away the damage from the minions on the other side of the board so you can't battle rage.
Yeah.
Because they're actually not considered damaged anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting interaction that I haven't seen come up yet.
Well, Kranich is starting to run out of stuff.
Yeah. Let's say he's getting low on resources here.
But Xixo's been out of stuff. So who wins? When one player's out of stuff and the other player's been out of stuff.
Yeah.
But Xixo has a lot of cards that can, give him more stuff. Like Battle Rage, Baron Rin.
This isn't terrible here. I was
Yeah.
saying Baron Rin on top actually I think puts him into a really good spot. But
Yeah, it depends what he gets off the Baron Rin, because there's a possibility that he just draws spells, which is not what you want. Sometimes it's what you want, but it's rarely what you want. And this is a little bit unfortunate because Xixo's not going to have a way to deal with this Acolyte of Pain. He's almost going to be forced to give it at least one card. He just want to spend an execute on it. What's he going to pick up? Bloodhoof Brave. Again, it's going to give a card over, but it's a start. He's getting closer. He's getting deeper into the deck. He's only got like 10 cards left.
It's like this is where the comeback starts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you can pick up a card here for Kranich. Picked up a True Silver Champion. He can pair that with a Keeper of Voldemon here.
Pretty good.
Get a 3/4 into play. You can feel this game and this match slipping away from Xixo here.
Yeah, but you can feel what I mean when sometimes you can win this matchup even despite a rough start.
Yeah.
As the warrior player, because if Xixo had drawn into a substantial threat, if he didn't whiff on the last 3 turns, then
I mean like
okay spot.
What happens if he just Baron Rins into like Bloodhoof Brave and an Armor Smith and like draws Battle Rage or something there? Like you're all of a sudden you're like, well, I felt like I can't win. To I feel super far ahead. We've gotten his equalities out of the way, but it looks like Kranich is going to be moving on.
Yeah, really well played by Kranich. That's you can't even say the preparation was better there because they both had the exact same decks. But I like the way he played. The match that stood out to me the most, or the game that stood out to me the most in that matchup, was the first one where Kranich had a very well played game where he spotted a creative lethal at the end to sort of set the pace of the series and won it 4-1 or 4-2 maybe, which was 4-1, 4-1, which was incredibly impressive. So we'll play to Kranich. He'll be moving on to the winners bracket semifinals, and Xixo will move down to the lower bracket.